Welcome back to Austin's Talk Radio 1370, The Right Choice. You are listening to The Shift Economy with your hosts, Paul Haarman, Neil Stokes, and Mike Stein. The weekly hour of power dedicated to help you discover how to thrive in a 21st century economy. For those of you listening for the first time, this is the show that exposes those ugly truths about outdated traditional thinking. We're talking to Doug Nybo, who is a master at helping business owners run their business and not allowing their businesses to run them. So whether you're a brand new entrepreneur launching a new business or even a seasoned veteran with an existing business, Doug offers solutions that help you work on your business rather than in your business. His mantra is, a bad process ruins good people, while a good process breeds stars. Hey, Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Hey, listen, let me ask you a question because, we hear so many coaches talk about, I help you work on your business instead of in your business. And it's gotten to the point where it's almost sounding like a canned line. What are they actually referring to? What do you mean by that?
Well, it is a canned line. And so anybody who's talked to a business coach or sort of hung out with a business coach hears that phrase all the time. And it's a little bit too cliche. What it really means is most people, when they start a business, and that's a very large percentage of them, start for technical reasons. And if you are an accountant, you start because you're a good accountant. If you are a mechanic, you start because you're a mechanic. Most of the business owners that I meet love to do the technical stuff.
So here's one of the dangers that I see. And I remember, and again, I've been an entrepreneur for God knows how long, I think almost my entire working career. But I never realized how to be a serious entrepreneur probably until the last 10, 15 years, because one of the things I found, even though it was me writing a paycheck, I might as well have taken a job because it was like a W-2 job. I was a slave to my business.
Right.
So that's really what you're referring to, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so you have a huge investment in making this thing work. You're going to make it work the best way you can. The only way you know how to make it work is by doing the technical side. What are you going to do? You're essentially going to go in there and crank on cars. What if I told you that your entire business is the other stuff? It's not the cranking on the cars or working on the cars. If you want to make it succeed, there's a huge array of other things you actually have to do to make it succeed. And that's where we're leaning right now in this discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because, what would you say, and kind of like where I want to go with this conversation, if you don't mind,
sure.
Is one of the things that we've been talking to our listeners about is because of the shifting economy. Mm-hmm. Again, there I go with my cliche, but sure. A lot of folks are finding themselves now with trying to start a business. Mm-hmm. And the reality is they don't know what they don't know.
They don't know exactly.
So what kind of advice or what kind of tips would you give someone who is now looking at becoming an entrepreneur for the first time?
Yeah, that was probably me a while ago as well. So I fully understand that. The advice I would consider is this. A lot of us are going to become entrepreneurs. And if you're going to become an entrepreneur, sit down and do a little bit of thinking about it. I always say put stuff on paper. Most of the people that I've met started a business on a whim. They basically, that passion that you get when you start. Everybody talks about passion as this great thing. It's a good and a bad. It's the reason you want to start the business, but it's not the reason your business is going to run. So take that passion, sit down, and design it a bit. People do business plans. I'm going to say talk to a business coach because I'm a little bit biased.
Imagine that.
Imagine that exactly. But it's the idea.
But it's true.
It's the idea of sitting down and actually looking at. And I talk often about the 90-day cyclical plan, which is an actionable. What am I going to do the next 90 days? And I talk about what am I going to do in 2 to 3 years.
Well, what you're really talking about is a blueprint in terms of how to and what what next steps are,
right?
And best practices, correct?
And the other thing is, and Paul, we've had side discussions as well, and we both admit to this. If we get an idea, do we write it down? I mean, the whole idea of a person sitting down and actually sketching it out and looking at it and seeing if it actually makes any sense. Have somebody look at it and say, does this plan at all make any sense? We avoid that until we're in trouble. And that's very common, which is, the school of hard knocks. That's a great way to learn if you want to spend an extra 3 to 4 years in your business and potentially go out of business. But if you want to do it right and sit down and actually plan it and maybe get, a nice head start and actually make some money the first year, wow, novel concept.
Yeah, isn't it though?
Yeah.
Neil, you were going to ask something?
Well, one thing with entrepreneurs a lot is time management is one big issue.
Right.
And then they get caught up with doing what you were talking about, the technical stuff, and
right.
They get caught up doing little busy work and things like that aren't the highest and best use of their brain
right.
and their experience. And so what's going to make them money is their experience and their brain,
right?
Not walking packages to the post office,
exactly,
or stuff like that. So how do you keep people on track? What do you do?
So the first part of any coaching process is really what I call facing reality, and it's what a lot of coaches call facing reality, although they may not use that word. Take a look at what you do on a day-to-day basis and actually sit down and figure out how much of it is tactical and how much of it is what we call clutter, or we call non-important activities.
Wasteful?
Wasteful.
Coffee pot issues.
I'm scared.
Right.
Exactly. I've actually taken Paul through the process. He actually participated in one of my workshops. And what it ends up happening is when you start listing these things down, you realize, and a pretty standard amount is 40 to 60% of your day is used on things like Facebook, picking up stamps at the store. As an entrepreneur, your wife tells you to go and pull the laundry out, all these other wonderful things which are so non-business success-oriented activities. So the way you're going to succeed is by making these these activities stronger. So the first thing is really to say, what are these activities? And then once you know what they are, there's strategies to get rid of them.
Right. And the thing is entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, they're used to having a boss.
Yep.
And you see a lot of entrepreneurs, they get a coach because they don't have a boss.
Right.
So they don't have anyone to hold them accountable, and they get lost in their own world.
Right.
And that's what you bring to the table, is that you're kind of like a rental boss that guides them.
Rental boss.
Yeah.
That's right.
A boss that you can fire.
I don't want a boss.
That's right.
But
someone to hold them accountable.
So rent
the
the
accountability
boss,
factor,
boss.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Rent the boss. There you go. That means I can cancel my rental just in case you piss me off.
That's right.
No, you know, one of the things that I found very interesting, I've been through a lot of different coaching platforms, and of course, when you go through something like that, you know, ego starts to step in, and you're thinking, I think I already know all this stuff. I sat down and I went through a session with Doug, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of things I've forgotten about. And it made me realize, you know, here's the perfect example why you have people like a Tiger Woods. And again,
maybe he's not a good example.
Well,
right
he's
now.
probably not a good example with his indiscretion.
His time
but you know what? He is a good
management
golfer.
got out of control.
And I know since I brought up the golf metaphor, I'm going to stick with the golf.
Okay,
but
Jack Nicklaus.
All right, let's
Go
talk
ahead.
about the Red Sox, okay? No. We got a Yankee fan in here. Ooh, but bad blood. Snoop, don't even open that door, buddy.
So go back to what you're saying.
No, what I'm getting at is that everyone has a coach. All right. And even some of the people that are superstars, they have a coach.
Right.
The other thing that they do that their coach will force them to do, at first it's forced, but then afterwards, you know, they'll go willingly, is they recognize they need to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
spring
Exactly.
training. You need to go back to it. So just because you've been through something before, I think the mindset, most people immediately assume, well, I already know that, so I don't need to do that. Or worse yet, when a piece of information is being introduced that has any kind of familiar ring, you immediately make assumptions and you think that, well, I already know all that. And in reality, he's putting another spin to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to kind of clam up, eat a little humble pie, and listen.
Right.
That's exactly what we call that the intellectual coach. And I actually had a client like that who had probably read every single book there was on coaching. And every time we get to a simple exercise, which is what he did not do, he would say, "This is driving me crazy. I know this theory." And then my answer back was, "Well, do you actually practice it?" And of course he didn't.
Was he an engineer?
He was not an engineer.
Careful, there's a lot of engineers in Boston. I mean, in Austin.
Exactly.
I almost said Boston.
He probably could have been. He probably
Right.
could have been. But that's exactly what you were saying. It is about the simple stuff.
Well, and that's true. I mean, anyway.
Well, how do people get a hold of you, and what kind of special coaching offers are you running right now, or do you have any classes coming up?
So the way people get a hold of me is my website is BizCoachAustin.com, B-I-Z Coach Austin, all one word.com, and that will basically give you my phone number. I can give that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Please.
Go for it.
512-646-0693.
Can you repeat that, please?
A little slower, right? 512-646-0693.
Hey, and what if a company wanted to have you come in and just kind of keep everyone on track? Do you do that?
Yes, that is the service that I offer.
Great.
Well, Doug is also known. He being on the speaking circuit. Actually, both he and Lucinda, you know, here in Austin. So If you have an opportunity to listen to either one of these two speak, you definitely owe it to yourself. And in fact, I was teasing Doug because there's another business coach, I won't name any names, who's also very well respected and very good in the area, that I've heard people at some of these networking groups talk about, oh, yeah, he was really good. But when they brought up Doug's name, they say, but Doug, oh, my God, he was wonderful. So that says a lot. That actually says a lot about you. But in any event, I think that about wraps it up for today. As we close out the episode, one of the things that I want to do is just point out to everyone that next week we'll be back on the topic of finance. We're going to have Jim Jordan, a professional mortgage planner, back with us. Jim will be discussing what some of the changes are from the upcoming financial reform and how they'll directly impact you. And while the industry norm has always been to focus on how to save money with a mortgage, Jim is actually going to share some insights on how to make money with your mortgage. This is your host, Paul Haarman, Neil Stokes, and Mike Stein, reminding you that in a rapidly changing world like we find ourselves in today, one great way to accelerate your growth is through regular access to like-minded people who are consistently choosing to be more, do more, and have more. And after all, if you think about it, isn't that what living a sensational life is all about? Until next time, be sure to tune in. And next Saturday, right here on the Shift Economy, only on Austin's Talk Radio 1370, The Right Choice.